You did something that completely caught them off guard. Something they never saw coming. And I'm telling you, that single move, that one decision to walk away, set off a chain reaction that they are still trying to process even now. See, in that moment when they rejected you, whether it was yesterday or 5 years ago, they expected a certain response. They expected you to explode. They expected tears, anger, of course, desperation, and they wanted to see you unravel. That's what they planned for. That's what they needed to happen. But you didn't give them that. Instead, you looked at the rejection, you felt it hit, and then you did something radical. You accepted it. You said, okay, this doesn't work for me, and I'm going to move on with my life. And now they are the ones losing their mind, trying to understand how that even happened. Here is the thing about rejection. I think that nobody really talks about. It's designed to hurt. You know that. It's engineered to make you chase, to make you prove yourself, to make you come back begging for another chance. Someone puts that rejection out there with a very specific intention. They want to see you suffer. They want to watch you squirm. They want you emotionally attached to them through pain, through confusion, through this desperate need to understand why they don't want you. That's the trap. That's the bait. And most people, they take it. They bite down hard and they spend months, sometimes years, trying to decode what they did wrong, what they could have done differently, why they were not enough. But you walked away instead. And that simple act, that grace, that refusal to play the game they set up, that's what changed everything. I need you to really feel this, because this is the moment justice actually stepped in. Now justice like punishment, not justice like punishment, not yet anyway, but justice like the universe finally saying, okay, I see what you tried to do here and I'm not letting it work. The moment you accepted that rejection, you decided to keep moving forward. Something shifted. The trap, they said, became a mirror. It started reflecting everything back at them instead of at you. Think about that Sunday morning feeling. You know, the one I'm talking about. You wake up and for maybe 30 seconds, before your brain fully kicks in, there is this pull, this appetite for something, this quiet voice that sounds like the real version of you, the one that isn't trying to fit into anyone else's expectations. And then reality hits and you remember, all right, I'm not supposed to want things. I'm not supposed to have edges. I'm not supposed to take up space like that. So you push it back, push it down. You build the walls back up. You convince yourself by noon that you never wanted anything at all. That people who rejected you, they knew about those walls. They probably helped build some of them. They threw out the rejection knowing it would reinforce everything you already believed about yourself. That you were not worthy, that you should want less, that the safe choice was the only choice. They were counting on you internalizing that rejection, letting it become part of your identity, letting it shrink you even smaller. But sometimes something different happened this time. Yeah, but something different happened this time. When they rejected you, instead of collapsing inward, you somehow found the strength to collapse the trap itself. You accepted the rejection without accepting the narrative it came with. You said, okay, you don't want me. That's information. That's not a verdict on who I am. And in that moment, you became someone they could no longer manipulate. That's when justice started moving. Let me paint you a picture. I love that. Of what was actually happening on their end while you were doing that. There is this moment right after they threw out the rejection, right after they set the emotional trap. They are watching, they are waiting, of course, they are anticipating the explosion, because that's the whole point of their strategy. They need your reaction, they need your pain to validate the power they think they have over you. They are literally sitting there, either consciously or unconsciously, preparing to devour your emotional response. That's the fuel they run on. That's how they justify what they did. But the explosion never came. And they started starving. You went to God, or you went inward, or you just went quiet. You cried in private, you felt the hurt without broadcasting it. You processed the rejection without performing it for an audience. And something beautiful happened in that privacy. You actually healed, you actually moved on. You actually started looking toward the horizon instead of staying stuck in the moment they hurt you. Meanwhile, they are still there. In the place where they threw that rejection, they are still waiting for the reaction that will never come. They are still standing there holding the knife they prepared, ready to twist it again if necessary. But the person they were trying to wound isn't even in the room anymore. You left. You actually left. And here is where it gets interesting. Because while you were moving forward, while you were accepting that loss and deciding to let it go, you were simultaneously accepting something new. You were accepting that you deserved better. You were accepting that there were other people, other opportunities, other versions of your life where you didn't have to shrink yourself. You were accepting that staying stuck wasn't loyalty, it was self-abandonment. And the moment you made that shift, you know that the universe responded. Always the universe responded. I'm not talking about some magical thinking here. I'm talking about the practical, spiritual reality of what happens when someone stops chasing someone who rejected them. Energy shifts, availability shifts. The version of you that was anxious and desperate, desperate and trying to prove your worth suddenly had room to become the version of you that was confident and clear and actually living and free. And guess who suddenly noticed that? You know that. Guess who suddenly realized what they lost? The same person who rejected you in the first place. You know that. But there is a plot twist here that most people don't see coming. You thought that once they noticed what they lost, they'd come back humble. They'd finally see your worth. They'd finally realize the mistake they made. Sometimes that happens, sure. But what I'm seeing in situation after situation, honestly, is something different. What I'm seeing is that once you actually moved on, once you actually found someone or something better, once you actually started building something meaningful without them, they lost their mind completely. Because rejection was supposed to devastate you. Rejection was supposed to send you spiraling. Rejection was supposed to make you chase. That was the contract they thought they had with you. And when you violated that contract, when you refused to play the role they cast you in, everything fell apart for them. They couldn't understand it. Never. They never understand it, actually. How did you accept my rejection and then go out and have something better? How did you let me go and then level up? That's not how this is supposed to work. You know what the craziest part is? They are more obsessed with you now than they ever were when they rejected you. Because now you are not trying to prove your worth to them anymore. Now you are just living your life. And that's the most attractive, most magnetic, most maddening thing you could possibly do to someone who thrives on power dynamics and emotional control. Let me tell you what happened behind the scenes during all this. While you were grieving, while you were processing, while you were getting stronger, there was spiritual protection happening that you might not even realize. Every time you chose not to blow up, every time you kept your dignity intact, every time you refused to give them the reaction they were banking on, you were literally protected by something bigger than both of you. I'm talking about the principle of cosmic justice. I'm talking about the way the universe responds when someone tries to manipulate and harm another person. The thing about setting traps is that they tend to snap back. The thing about throwing rejection out as a weapon is that it eventually returns to the shooter. Always. Just a question of time. And the universe doesn't do that as punishment for some external force. It does it as a natural consequence of the energy someone puts out into the world. They send out emotional abuse. And the universe said, okay, that energy is yours now. How do you like it? Take it. They sent out rejection, and guess what? They are now experiencing the ultimate rejection, the rejection of being forgotten, of being left behind, of being completely irrelevant to the person they tried to destroy. And they can't even properly grieve it because they can't tell anyone what happened. They can't explain it. They can't say, I rejected this person and now they are thriving without me and I can't handle it. That story makes them look bad. It makes them look like a villain, which, let's be honest, they were. So they just sit with it internally. It festers, it grows, and they slowly lose their mind trying to understand a situation that has a very simple explanation. You walked away from someone toxic, and the universe protected you by helping you actually move on. Now, here is what changed everything for you. It wasn't just that you walked away. It was that you walked away and then you actually kept walking. You didn't look back. You didn't take the bait when they tried to reel you back in. You didn't explain yourself or defend yourself or try to make them understand. You just kept moving forward. And in moving forward, you found something or someone better. Maybe it was a different relationship. Maybe it was a career opportunity. Maybe it was just a deeper sense of peace, freedom, peace, and self-respect. The specifics don't matter. The specifics don't matter. What matters is that you proved to yourself first and then to the universe that you were serious about the choice you made. And that's when justice really stepped in, because the universe has a way of honoring the people who honor themselves. When you decided that you didn't deserve to be rejected and then chased, when you decided that you were not going to shrink yourself for someone else's comfort, when you decided that your peace was worth more than the validation they were offering, that's when everything changed. That's when the protection kicked in. That's when abundance started flowing toward you instead of away from you. The person who rejected you, they are still in the position they put themselves in. They are still holding onto the weapon they forged. They are still trying to figure out how to make the trap work. But you are not the target anymore. You're the one who got away. And getting away was the best thing happened to you, even though it felt like the worst thing at the time. I need you to understand something about the cost of staying versus the cost of leaving. If you had given them the reaction they wanted, if you had blown up and let your emotions spill everywhere, you would have solidified their power over you. You would have confirmed in their mind that they could hurt you, that they could manipulate you, that they could control you through pain. Your pain. That would have bounded you to them in the most toxic way possible. It would have kept you connected through chaos, but by walking away, by accepting the rejection without accepting the shame that came with it, you broke that bond. You said, I'm not doing this with you anymore. I'm not giving you that power. And breaking a toxic bond sometimes feels worse than staying in it, because at least in the toxic situation, you know what to expect. But once you live, once you actually commit to living and do not look back, you have to face the fear of the unknown. You have to trust that there is something better waiting. You have to believe in your own worth, even when no one else is validating it. And here is the thing. You did that. You had the courage to do that. And that courage is what saved you. Now, I want you to visualize what's with them right now. They are trying to make sense of it. They are trying to understand how you just accepted it and moved on. That doesn't compute in their mind because they don't operate that way. Their entire strategy is built on people not being able to accept rejection. They count on desperation. They count on people chasing them. They count on the emotional turbulence they create to be addictive enough that their victims can't live. But you left and you stayed gone and you actually got better. That's the nightmare scenario for someone who operates through control and manipulation. Nightmare, believe me. Because it proves that they are not as powerful as they think they are. It proves that their manipulation only works on people who are willing to be manipulated. It proves that you were never as weak as they needed you to be. And the universe, our beautiful universe, saw that. The universe saw your strength. The universe saw your refusal to play victim. And the universe responded. Always responded by protecting you from further harm and opening doors for you that wouldn't have opened it if you'd stay stuck in that rejection. That's what justice looks like. Not punishment from an external source, not karma hitting them like a lightning bolt from the sky, but the natural, inevitable consequence of the choice they made and the choices you made. They chose to manipulate. They chose to reject. They chose to try to break you. And in doing so, they chose their own suffering. You chose to walk away. You chose to heal. You, my beautiful soul, chose to keep moving forward. And in doing so, you chose your own liberation. The scales balanced. Justice stepped in, not because you deserved it as some kind of reward for suffering, but because you honored yourself by refusing to accept the suffering they tried to impose on you. That act of self-respect, that refusal to shrink, that commitment to moving forward, that's what invited divine protection into your life. And here is what I need you to know as you move forward. Certain ways that you've cried, you will never have to cry again. Certain ways you've been treated, you will never be treated like that again, because you've learned the most important lesson, that accepting a loss is not the same as accepting mistreatment. That letting someone go is not the same as letting them diminish you. And once you know that, once you really understand it in your bones, you attract a completely different caliber of person and opportunity into your life. The person who rejected you is still sitting there in the past, waiting for an explosion that will never come. But you You're out there building something real. You're out there creating something meaningful. You are out there becoming the version of yourself that doesn't need their validation to know your worth. And that, my friend, is the ultimate victory. That's what justice really looks like. Not the destruction of your enemy, not the elevation of yourself, not their suffering, no, but your freedom. Your freedom. And every single day that you keep building, keep moving, keep refusing to go back, you are proving that the choice you made was the right one. They paid for what they did, not because the universe punished them, but because the universe protected you. And in protecting you, in honoring your decision to walk away, the universe showed them exactly what they lost. That's their karma. That's their justice. And you don't have to do anything but keep living. Keep living your best life to watch it unfold. Keep living, be yourself. Love you.